He was the man who told a king he could not have his brother's wife and lost his head for it. His name was John. The Gospels call him John the Baptist, not because he founded a denomination, but because that is what he did for a living. He stood waist deep in the Jordan and lowered people backward into the moving water and lifted them up clean. He was the last and greatest of the Hebrew prophets, and he was the first man on earth to point at Jesus. And on the night this story begins, he is in a stone cell, in chains, at the bottom of a fortress called Machirus. There is a small lamp, and there is a narrow slit of sky. High above him, up the long stairs in the great hall, there is a banquet, a king's birthday, wine, lamps, music, the leading men of Galilee in their best clothes. A young woman has come into the hall and danced. The king has watched her, and his guests have watched her. And the king, in front of every man he was trying to impress, has sworn an oath. Ask, he has said, anything, even half of my kingdom. She has gone out to her mother. Her mother has been waiting a long time for this hour. The mother has told her exactly what to ask for. So she has come back in, and she has stood in front of the king, and she has said it. We do not show the rest. The text does not need us to. It says it plainly. The king was exceedingly sorry, but because of his oaths and his guests, he sent. And in the cell with the small lamp and the narrow slit of sky, the voice was silenced. The next morning, John's own disciples came. They took up the body. They laid it in a tomb. And then, the Gospel says, and this is one of the saddest small sentences in the New Testament, they went and told Jesus. We are left with the question, who was this man that a king feared him alive and could not silence him even when his head was gone? And what does Jesus, the one he had spent his entire life pointing at, say of him? Hold that question. We are going to answer it. To answer it, we have to go back. Back past the prison, past the wilderness, past the river, all the way back to a small stone village in the hill country of Judea, about a year before Jesus was born. There is an old priest there. His name is Zech-e-Rio. He belongs to the priestly division of Abijah. His wife's name is Elizabeth. She is a daughter of Aaron, a woman of the priestly line, born for this house. They have walked together in the commandments of the Lord, the Gospel says, blameless. And they have no children. They are old now, past hope, in the only way that word means anything. And then it is Zechariah's turn to enter the holy place, to stand alone behind the curtain at the golden altar of incense, the prayers of Israel rising in smoke. The people of God are gathered outside praying, and inside, where no one expected anyone else to be, there is an angel. He is standing at the right side of the altar. His name is Gabriel. The priest is terrified. The angel speaks, "Do not be afraid, Zechariah. Your prayer has been heard. Your wife Elizabeth will bear you a son, and you will call his name John. He will be filled with the Holy Spirit, even from his mother's womb. And he will go before the face of the Lord in the spirit and power of Elijah, to make ready a people prepared for him." Zechariah cannot believe it. He says the thing every honest person says when an angel tells them something impossible. How can I know this? I am an old man. My wife is past the age. The angel does not soften. He gives him a sign and a silence. Because you have not believed my words, you will be silent until the day these things happen. The priest comes out, unable to say a word. The people had been waiting for his blessing. He stands there, his mouth open, no sound. They understand he has seen a vision. Oh, he goes home, and in his silence, the impossible promise begins. Elizabeth conceives. 9 months later, the child is born. The relatives come to circumcise him on the 8th day and to name him. They reach for the obvious name, Zechariah, after his father. Elizabeth says, no, his name is John. They turn to the silent old man. Surely he will overrule her. He asks for a tablet. He writes the 4 small letters that 9 months of silence have made him sure of. His name is John, and in that moment his mouth is opened. His tongue is loosed, and the old priest prophesies over his son. You, child, will be called a prophet of the Most High, for you will go before the face of the Lord to prepare his ways. By the tender mercy of our God, the dawn from on high will visit us, to give light to those who sit in darkness, and to guide our feet into the way of peace. That is the prophecy spoken over John's crib. And then the gospel does an extraordinary thing. It goes silent for 30 years. About the boy who would be called the last and greatest of the prophets, we are told one sentence. The child grew and grew strong in spirit, and he was in the wilderness till the day of his showing to Israel. That sentence is all we have for 3 decades. The hill country of Judea, the deep gorge of the Jordan running down through the rock, bare ridges, dry wadis, long heat, cold nights. The boy growing up, the man becoming the man, alone in the wilderness before the Lord. That is the kind of place that makes a prophet, or breaks him. John was not broken, and then one day the silence ended. He walked out of the wilderness and he started to speak, and the people came. He wore a rough tunic woven from camel's hair with a leather belt around his waist, the deliberate echo of Elijah, the prophet of fire. He ate what the wilderness fed him, locusts and wild honey from the rock. He was gaunt and weathered, with a fierce, gentle face and a voice that did not waste itself. He stood by the Jordan and he said, "Repent, turn around. The kingdom of heaven is at hand. Make straight in the desert a highway for our God." And he baptized them, confessing their sins. He lowered them backward into the moving water, and he lifted them up clean. And they came. Mark says it the way only Mark can. All the country of Judea and all the people of Jerusalem went out to him and were baptized in the river Jordan. Something in the country was starving. Rome was on the throne, the temple was running, the teachers were teaching, and a wilderness man with a rough garment and a river was the only one feeding the hunger. The Pharisees and the Sadducees came to look. He did not flatter them. He looked at them and said, "You offspring of vipers, who warned you to flee from the wrath to come? Do not begin to say, 'We have Abraham as our father,' for God is able to raise up children to Abraham from these stones. A prophet does not measure his words by whose face is in front of him." The ordinary people asked him what they should do. He gave answers a man could carry. To the crowd, "If you have 2 coats, give one to the one who has none. If you have food, do the same." To the tax collectors, Jewish men working for Rome, "Collect no more than what is appointed you." To the soldiers, "Extort from no one, accuse no one falsely, be content with your wages." He was making out by that river a new kind of people. The country began to wonder. The people in their hearts, Luke says, all reasoned about John, whether perhaps he was the Christ. And John, hearing it, said the line he would say his entire life, in some version, in every direction. I am not the Messiah, I am not Elijah, I am a voice, only a voice, crying in the wilderness, make straight the way of the Lord. I baptize you with water. There is one coming after me, whose sandal I am not worthy to untie. He will baptize you with the Holy Spirit and with fire. That was the sentence John lived inside of. I am not. He is. He had been pointing at someone his whole life without knowing his face. And one ordinary afternoon by the river, the face arrived. John looked up. There was still a line of people on the bank. He was still standing waist-deep in the Jordan. And out of the line, one man was walking toward him. And John, by what means we are not told, knew him. He stopped. The water went still around him. Out of the long, dusty crowd of strangers, this was the one. This was the one he had been put on the earth for. Jesus stepped down into the river, and he asked to be baptized. And John, for one of the only times in his life, tried to refuse. The wilderness prophet, the man who would later answer a king without blinking, pulled back from this man and said, "No, I have need to be baptized by you, and you come to me?" Jesus answered him kindly, "Allow it now, for this is the fitting way for us to fulfill all righteousness." So John, the text does not tell us with what expression on his face, took the man he had been pointing at his whole life and lowered him backward into the water of the Jordan. A prophet immersing his Lord, he lifted him up, and the sky tore. The Gospels reach for the same words. The heavens were opened. The Spirit of God descended like a dove and rested on him. And a voice came from heaven, and the voice said, "This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased." John saw it. He testified to it later, plainly, with the precision of a man under oath. "I have seen," he said, "and have testified that this is the Son of God." The next day, John was standing again near the river. 2 of his own disciples were with him, men who had followed him into the wilderness, who had taken his baptism, who had decided that the rough prophet by the river was the closest thing in their country to the voice of God. Jesus walked by, and John looked at him. And John said the sentence he had been put on the earth to say. He said it quietly, the way you say a thing you have been waiting your whole life to say. "Behold, the Lamb of God, who takes away the sin of the world." His 2 disciples heard him. They looked, and they left him standing there. They left John, and they followed Jesus. One of them was Andrew, who would later bring his brother Simon Peter. The other the Gospel does not name. By ancient tradition, it was John, the future apostle, who, when he wrote his Gospel, did not put his own name in. John the Baptist did not call them back. He had not been keeping them. He sent them. Sometime later, weeks, maybe months, both John and Jesus were baptizing in the country on different parts of the river. John's remaining disciples came to him with what they thought was bad news. "Rabbi," they said, "he who was with you beyond the Jordan, to whom you have testified, look, he is baptizing, and everyone is going to him." They were sure he would be wounded by it. He was not. "A man cannot receive anything," John said, "unless it has been given him from heaven. You yourselves bear me witness that I said, I am not the Christ. He is the one who has the bride. I am only the friend of the bridegroom, who stands and listens for him, and rejoices greatly to hear the bridegroom's voice. Therefore, this joy of mine is now full." And then he gave them the sentence that crowns his life. He said it without bitterness. He said it with joy. He said it as a wilderness man who never wanted a kingdom would say it. He must increase, but I must decrease. That is the highest difficulty in a faithful life. To know your place, to do your work, to point past yourself, and to be glad, actually glad, when the one you have been pointing at finally comes. For a season, the river kept moving, the crowds kept coming, the voice kept speaking, the disciples kept being sent on. And then the country shifted under him. Across the Jordan, in the tetrarchy of Herod Antipas, who ruled Galilee and Perea under Roman authority, a son of Herod the Great, half a king on a borrowed throne. A story had begun that John could not ignore. Herod had been married, and he had set that marriage aside, and he had taken Herodias, the wife of his half-brother Philip, for himself. The law of Moses spoke against it plainly. The country knew. The teachers in the synagogues did not preach on it. The priests in the temple did not write letters. No one said it. Until John. John said it. Out loud, he said the sentence that everyone in the country was thinking, and no one in the country would speak. "It is not lawful for you," he said, "to have your brother's wife." That was the sentence that killed him. Hear it carefully. It was not a calculation. John did not say it to bring down a king. He said it because he was unable, in the deep place where his life had been formed, to not say it. A prophet measures his words by the truth, not by the man standing in front of him. He had said vipers to the Pharisees in the river. He had said justice to the soldiers on the road. He said unlawful to a king on a throne. The voice did not change. Herod heard about it, and Herodias heard about it, and from that day, the queen began to want him dead. Herod was not brave. He was afraid of the people. They held John to be a prophet, and Herod knew that to kill him in the open would set the country on fire. But, and this is the part of the story that is almost stranger than the death, Herod was also afraid of John himself. Mark says it plainly. Herod feared John, knowing him to be a righteous and holy man, and he kept him safe. And when he heard him, he was greatly perplexed, and he heard him gladly, a king who was fascinated by the prophet who told him no, a king who liked listening to the man he could not afford to obey. There is no figure in the New Testament more recognizable than a man who hears the truth, is moved by the truth, and still cannot bring himself to do the truth. Almost, but not. So Herod did the cowardly thing in the middle. He arrested him. He put him in chains. He sent him to the fortress at Machaerus, perched high on its desert ridge east of the Dead Sea, the king's stronghold on the edge of the world. A wilderness prophet, now sealed inside stone walls. There is a wilderness inside the cell. A small lamp, a narrow slit of sky. Months. And from the cell, John could still hear what the man he had pointed at was doing. His own disciples could still come and go. They brought him the news, a great teacher in the Galilee hills. Multitudes fed on a hillside, a leper cleansed on a road, a widow's son raised at the gate of 9, blind men opening their eyes, lame men walking, and in the cell, the prophet had a hard night. We have to be honest about why. The kingdom John had been preaching out by the river was a kingdom with the axe laid to the root of the trees, a kingdom of fire, the chaff swept into a flame that would not go out. The Messiah of John's preaching was coming with a winnowing fork in his hand, and the Messiah was being quiet, healing, teaching, eating with sinners, befriending tax collectors, not yet throwing down the axe. And John, in the dark, sent a question. He sent 2 of his own disciples to Jesus with the question only a man at the end of his rope sends. Are you the one who is to come, or do we look for another? Sit with that for a moment. The man who had stood waist-deep in the river and pointed at him and said, Behold, the Lamb of God. The man who had heard the voice from heaven over Jesus' head with his own ears. That man, in a cell, in a chain, in the dark, sent a question. Even John had a hard hour, and Jesus did not get angry. Hear that. He did not say John should know better. He took the question seriously, and he answered it. He looked at the messengers, and he said, Go, and tell John the things you hear and see. The blind receive their sight, the lame walk, the lepers are cleansed, the deaf hear, the dead are raised up, and the poor have good news preached to them. Then, and this is the heart of it, he added, "Blessed is he who finds no occasion of stumbling in me." The answer was the prophets. Jesus was naming the signs of the Messiah from Isaiah. The blind eyes opened, the deaf ears unstopped, the lame leaping, the poor lifted, and saying to John, "Look, you did not get the kingdom you were preaching. You got a different one, and it is mine. Do not stumble over me." And then, and this is one of the most tender things Jesus does in any gospel, he turned while John was still in chains, and he praised him in public. "What did you go out into the wilderness to see?" he said to the crowd. "A reed shaken by the wind. Soft clothing. Those who wear soft clothing are in kings' houses. A prophet? Yes, I tell you, and much more than a prophet. This is he of whom it is written, 'Behold, I send my messenger before your face.'" And then Jesus crowned the prophet's life with as large a sentence as he ever spoke about any human being. "Most certainly I tell you," he said, "among those who are born of women, there has not arisen anyone greater than John the Baptizer." And then, immediately, the turn that keeps the crown from being a flat eulogy. "Yet, he who is least in the kingdom of heaven is greater than he." Hear that turn. It is not a put-down. It is a promotion. It is a turn of magnitude. John stood at the door of the new covenant, the greatest man who ever stood at any door, but the least man on the inside, the least believer, after the cross and the empty tomb, is in a different country entirely. John pointed at the Lamb. We sit at the Lamb's table. The kingdom is not a smaller thing than John preached. It is a larger thing than John could see from his side of the river. Whether any of that ever reached John in his cell, the text does not tell us. The text tells us only what happened next. It was Herod's birthday. He gave a banquet in the great hall of Machaerus for his nobles, his military officers, the leading men of Galilee. The wine ran, the lamps burned, the music played, and the daughter of Herodias came in and danced. The gospel does not name her. We will not name her either. She danced before Herod and his guests, and she pleased him, and she pleased them. And in the hot of that hour, in front of every man he was trying to impress, Herod said to her, "Ask me whatever you want, and I will give it to you." And he swore, "Even to half of my kingdom." She went out to her mother. "What shall I ask?" And the mother, who had been waiting for this hour for a long time, did not hesitate. The head of John the Baptizer. The girl came back in. She stood in front of the king. She said it quickly, the gospel says, with haste. "I want you to give me, right now, on a platter, the head of John the Baptizer." The king was exceedingly sorry. The gospel tells us so. He had not wanted this. He had not seen this coming. But because of his oaths, and because of the men reclining at the table with him, he could not pull it back. He could not look weak. He sent. And in the cell with the small lamp and the narrow slit of sky, the voice was silenced. We do not show it. The text gives the fact and looks away. The next morning, John's own disciples came. They walked into the prison the king had let them keep walking into for months. They took up the body. They laid him in a tomb. And then, the gospel says, and you can hear the small grieved voice in the sentence, they went and told Jesus. So now we can stand at the question we left in the first minutes. Who was this man that a king feared him alive and could not silence him even when his head was gone? He was a man who spent his entire life pointing away from himself. That is the whole shape of him. Before he was born, an angel said it of him. He would go before the face of the Lord to prepare his ways. As a grown man at the river, he said it about himself. I am not the Messiah, I am a voice. The day his own disciples left him to follow Jesus, he said it about his work. He must increase, but I must decrease. And the day they came worried he would be wounded by Jesus' growing crowds, he said it about his joy. This joy of mine is now full. There is no jealousy in him. There is no clutch. He preached, and the crowds came. And when the man he had been pointing at finally arrived, John handed the crowds over and stepped back into the river. That is the highest difficulty in a faithful life. To know your place, to do your work, to point past yourself, and to be glad, actually fully glad, when the one you have been pointing at comes. That is what John was, and he paid for it in a way most of us will never have to. He told a king, plainly, that he could not have his brother's wife. He said it knowing exactly what he was doing, and it cost him his head. But do not miss the part the gospel will not let us hide. Even John had a hard hour. In the cell, in the chain, in the dark, the prophet who had heard the voice from heaven over his Lord's head sent a question. Are you the one? Even the greatest of those born of women had a night when he could not be sure. And Jesus did not scold him. He did not say John should be tougher than that. He took the question seriously, and he answered it with the prophets. The blind are seeing, the lame are walking, the dead are raised, the poor are getting good news. Look at the kingdom you are inside of, John. It is not the one you were preaching, it is mine. Do not stumble over me. That is the second thing we carry out of this story. There is doubt that walks into the dark and locks the door behind it. That is despair, and it is the enemy. But there is also doubt that goes back in the dark and asks the question one more time. Are you really the one? Did I get it right? Jesus is not afraid of that doubt either. He answered John in chains with the same tenderness he later answered Thomas in a locked room. The doubt that asks gets met. And then the third thing. And this one is for you, friend, whoever you are, listening on the other side of 2,000 years. Jesus praised John in public. He praised him while John was still in chains and could not hear it. He used some of the largest words he ever spoke about a human being, and he spoke them about a man whom the world had locked away. There has not arisen anyone greater than John. Hear that. The prophets who get jailed by the powerful, the obedient men and women whose faithfulness costs them what the rest of us never have to pay. Jesus sees them. He praises them while the world is still dishonoring them. He is not waiting for the public to come around. He sees who is greater. He says so. So if you are anywhere on the road of an obedience that has cost you something, if you have said the true sentence to the wrong person and paid for it, if you have spent a faithful life pointing past yourself and wondered in the dark whether anyone ever saw it, hear what Jesus said over John's chains. He saw it. He sees yours. There is one more thing the gospel does, gently, and we should notice it. After John's disciples laid the body in a tomb, they went and told Jesus. And the next thing Jesus does in Matthew's telling, immediately, is withdraw by himself to a deserted place. He grieved. The man whose sandal John had said he was not worthy to untie went apart and felt the loss of his cousin. Then he came back out, because that is what Jesus does. He comes back out. And the crowds came, and he taught them. And he fed 5,000 of them with 5 loaves and 2 fish. The voice in the wilderness had been silenced. The bread of life kept giving himself away. So here, at the end, a plain word. Most of us will never be a prophet in a king's prison. Most of us will not lose our head for a sentence. But every one of us will face the small cost of saying a true thing to a person who does not want to hear it. Every one of us will be tempted in a hard hour to send the question, "Are you really the one?" And every one of us will spend our lives either pointing at ourselves or pointing past ourselves. There is no third option. John pointed past himself. He pointed at the Lamb, and the Lamb, in his own time, called him the greatest man who had ever been born of a woman. So be the voice. Stay in the wilderness if you have to. Say the true sentence, even when it is expensive. And when the doubt comes, in the dark, send the question. He has not stopped answering. The Jordan is still there. The river that John lowered Jesus into is still moving past the same stones. The voice is gone. The river is not. The next story is coming soon on the channel.